Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to FRS Motorsports, and here we are getting ready to kick off our fourth race weekend of Season 6 here. We go from Austin to Austria. Make the trip in the back-to-back weeks, head to one of the shortest circuits after going to one of the longest circuits of the season. Austin featured 20 turns. Austria and Spielberg, just 10, so much smaller grid, or not grid, but track on this one. Very fast and furious. And we will, the lobby is already just about full, 5 minutes ahead of schedule. But we are here for PC Division R, which of course is a mixture of drivers from different divisions. So you've got plenty of action on, different tire and strategy choice. We'll have to wait and see what people are going to opt for in this one. Formation lap is off again, just double checking that. There was a patch that fixed one of the issues with broadcast formation lap, which was the basically no lap times being set. But it didn't come out in a time that's given us really enough opportunity to test and make sure it works. So we are still going back to continuing with no formation lap for this race weekend. We will do some heavy testing in between to see. Of course, the season continues to come at us thick and fast. We're around 4 of 10 already, and next week will be the halfway point as we head to Silverstone for round number 5. Lobby should be just about done and dusted. The lobby host tell me that all is good to go, and we should be getting underway. If not on time, maybe even a little bit ahead of schedule. Sorry for that delay. I was just checking on Discord as there was a couple questions being asked to me, but we're just kind of chilling and relaxing for another minute or two, unless everybody in the lobby decides they want to get underway early. I am ready early, so I have no problem with that. But otherwise, we will wait and see. Austria does have some opportunity for rain. We actually saw across the divisions a lot more rain than I think we expected out of Austin. Of course, PC Division 2 had some changeable conditions. PC Division 3 was in the wet the entire way. So we did see some weather coming in to affect us, and Austria has an even better chance of weather being here than we did last week out in Austin. But definitely a tricky track to set up for. Probably not quite as high downforce as we saw last weekend out in Austin. The two big long straights, your best overtaking opportunities down into turn 3 and turn 4. There is kind of that tricky tail of the second sector and start of the third sector where you got turns 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 that are pretty high downforce circuit turns. You're actually kind of looking over that section as we fly over it at the moment. You kind of whip the car back and forth, but it's not quite as high downforce as was necessary around Circuit of the Americas. So we'll see who is going to be able to make those overtakes happen. 2 big DRS zones, or 3 DRS zones, sorry. Actually, there's 2 long ones. The short run from turn 1 down into turn 1, there is a DRS zone there, but it's really not a great overtaking opportunity unless somebody gets wrong-footed out of turn 10. Turn 10 is a high-speed corner, uses a lot of downforce. So if you're in dirty air, there's really not anything that's going to be a good overtaking opportunity down to turn 1. But you go from a mid-speed corner of turn 1, a huge long straight, and then the sharpest, slowest corner on the circuit of turn 3. Turn 2 exists. It's a little left-handed kink coming up the hill that you'll see, but it's not really anything to account for in an F1 car. So it does go from turn 1 to turn 3 rather abruptly. We will continue to stick with the the circuit map's turn numbers, just for clarification. So that makes turn 4 the next downhill braking zone, and the next best overtaking opportunity. Hopefully we have a little bit of a cleaner start in PC Division R than we had last week. There was a bit of shambles out there. Last time around it is just about 1 minute to the hour. And we should be, I guess, just getting underway on time. So, surprising to say for an FRS race, and especially from somebody who races in the notoriously tardy Xbox division where we never get to start on time. We may actually have a race going off on time here around the Red Bull Ring in Austria. Of course, it's got a tricky pit entry. There is a change into the rulings for the local race notes. So usually you only need cars to put 2 tires inside the white lines on pit entry, and then all 4 on pit exit. Here it is all 4 in both cases. So you have to really kind of establish that you're coming into the pit lane nice and early, because it is the pit entry line is right in the firing line of a high-speed turn 9. So look for that to be potentially a little bit of a sketchy area to go. So hopefully everything goes well. And I think we should be just about going. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the FRS. We are here for round 4 of Season 6 PC Division R. We're taking a visit to the Styrian Hills. Spielberg, Austria is the circuit, and it's featured in all 6 of the FRS seasons, so it's very much a stalwart of the calendar. Here is the track, 4.3 kilometers, just 2.6 miles, only 10 turns, but 3 big, long DR rest zones into turn 1, turn 3, and turn 4, so plenty of opportunity to overtake around the circuit here. Now, it's going to be the quickest lap on the FRS calendar. In qualifying, we're expecting to see lap times go well under 65 seconds, maybe down to about the 1:03 range. But turn 3, one of your best overtaking opportunities up the hill into this very sharp hairpin. Definitely tops of the action zones on the list. And of course, the fight back immediately, turn 4. You get 2 DRS zones on back-to-back straights. So if you are unable to really make the move stick in turn 3, you may be able to have a chance in turn 4 to go at it again, or to fight your way back. Tire compounds are the softest of the season, and the medium's only about a half second slower than the softs. The hards only 1 second slower. And for this 36 lap race, the hards can do just about the whole distance, 34 laps. Mediums will go 23, and the softs will go 12. It puts you right on the cusp of being able to do a soft medium one stopper, but it is definitely going to be tight. But drivers are just about getting their way out onto the track here in qualifying, finishing up their out laps. And we will get ready to see who's going to be setting the first of those flying laps. It looks like Charlie Chibbles will grab who's going to be the first one around. He's going to have Dr. Zetos a little bit behind. So we will see how drivers can set in the first sectors here. It's going to be a decent amount of track evolution available to the drivers in this one. Charlie Chibbles goes fast, and Zetos not able to improve. The Alfa Romeo of P17, that is Knack Track, who did not set the thing to, did not turn on his player as requested. So, player in Alfa Romeo, likely going to be Knack Track, unless Brad Spitt has also not done such a thing. We've got some yellow flags in a couple sectors. I believe that's just cars getting out of the way. Charlie Chibbles, expectedly, his first car through has invalidated, actually. So that is Charlie Chibbles' lap done. We will grab Zados, who is next furthest up the line on a valid flying lap. So they are going to be setting the pace early, as Charlie Chibbles just ran a little bit wide there, and across the line comes Zados, as there's a spinner of a Haas getting out of the way there. Zados to the top of the timing sheets, 105.2. So already down to that 1:05 section. And we will continue to push on and see if anybody else is going to set a strong lap time. False tax on a valid lap, and I'm guessing by the number of timings that are dropping off the tower, a lot of drivers are invalidating midway through their laps in this one. So definitely going to be something to look out for. And yeah, invalidated out of the final corner, so no lap time set. Gully will be the next to go, 107, so not particularly representative. Milo is going to be next across the line, a 106.0. So we are starting to see some lap times dip in as Peter Ward crosses the line, and a very slow 118, so not a very fast one. Wilco, 107 flat, and Renovatio, winner for PC4 last weekend out, and pole position for them, goes wide in turn 10 and invalidates. Looks like we will grab whoever is in this Haas. That's going to be Ruprath, has gone purple in Sector 1. We'll jump on board and take a look at how they are finding their way. Flick the car in to the penultimate corner, turn 9. Take as much curbing as you dare through turn 10. Just about keeps it in bounds. Across the line they come. Goes to a 105.837. So a good lap from them there to go just second on the timing sheets. We'll see Dog is going to be next across the line into 6th place, as Luke goes up towards the top of the timing sheets in the Ferrari as well, 105.3. So nobody quite getting down into that 105 sub mark, but a lot of drivers have taken opportunities and not quite gotten the valid laps in. D. Lee is going to be next coming across the line here in the Aston Martin. We'll see how they go across. Goes into the 105.8. So one of the others in the 105 range. Renovatio coming up. No, sorry, wrong button. I have to hit shift to get Reno. Reno into the pit lane. So their lap is going to be done. Coral, I believe, should be finishing up a lap rather shortly. And they'll be one of the last ones on a proper flying lap in this one. There is enough tire life to go for a double 2 push laps. And Coral does a rather slow, I think they were doing a recharge lap there, so we'll stick with them as they make their way around the circuit this time. Picking up a bit of a slipstream off the car ahead and diving out of the way. On the brakes, utilizing the curbing as an entry and then swinging wide. We'll see how they can do crossing this next little sector split. Coming down the hill, finding their braking point for turn 40, just past the 100 meter mark, and a very tough turn in to turn 4. So definitely rotating the car quite a lot and carrying some good speed through the middle sector here. Now you'll see as the game shows a purple middle sector, although that is a well-known bug of the game. We just have to see how Coral comes. And I didn't want to leave Riemann's graphic. I'm just kind of messing on what graphics are good to have up. And not have Riemann's graphic covering the lower half of the screen. I think for the onboards, I should probably turn that off. But a good lap from Coral puts them up into P5 on this one. Space Ghost, next one on a flyer coming through the final sector. And just keeps it in bounds, getting 2 tires onto the curbing out of turn 10. And crosses line, goes to a 106 flat onto P8. Brad Spitt next across on a decent lap here. Has a couple seconds left to go to get to the line. Swings it out around that final curbing. And now, with the number of drivers that we're seeing invalidate lap times, as Brad Spitt goes up into the middle of pack, P10. But with the number of drivers we're seeing invalidate on the flying laps here in qualifying, that is something that we're going to have to look out for in the race. This is a track that rewards getting right up to the edge in qualifying and in the race. So Charlie Chibbles goes to a 105.8. And it looks like we got a few drivers on cool-down laps as Space Ghost and Brad Spit do not improve through the first sectors. They are yellow there. False Tax is what we're on board with. Has not yet set a valid flying lap. But track limit penalties could be an issue in the race. Straddles that curbing and the entry to turn 4. Gets the car rotated. Tricky corner to get as you're still kind of on the corner of turn 5 as you get the power down. False Tax having a decent run here through. Looks like Knack Track has actually gone purple in the middle sector after going personal best. No, Charlie Chibbles has gone a little faster in the middle sector. We'll jump on with Charlie as soon as this lap is done with False Tax, and it is very done as he does a pirouetting 360. He will cross the line with a valid lap, though. And Knack Track goes provisional pole, the first into the 104s. Oh, big snapper for Charlie Chibbles out of the final corner. Was purple through the middle sector and unfortunately unable to improve on that one with that final corner mistake. Renovatio goes to a 105.9, so it goes into the top 10. Stark should be next across line, pitching it into turn 9. Has yet to set a flying lap, or a valid flying lap, as Knack Track currently holding provisional pole, and action has been thorough in this one. 105.5 up, it goes up into 6th place overall, as there's plenty of action here in this qualifying session. Riemann is on their way into the pit lane. I expect that Brad Spit, Knack Track, and Luke are also doing the same, although Luke has improved in the middle sector. So we'll see if they are going to go full send in the final sector or if they're just doing a fast in lap. Nope, they are staying out on track, so they are going to finish this flying lap around the final turn. Can they improve? They do improve. Next into the 104s, just a couple of hundredths behind Knack Track, though. Only 200ths of a second separating those two, and a lot of drivers on the track on slow laps. A yellow sector is showing for Blackbird, Milo, and Gali. The next 3 expected to cross the line, so we will take a moment for a little bit of a breather. Some yellow flags in a couple of the sectors to be expected as we see drivers kind of making their way back into the pit lane. We'll actually get on board here with where did Peter Ward? Peter Ward is 15th. They have crossed line and improved, gone up to P15. So a good run from them. I think D-Elite is next up. We'll get the timing tables back up as we are now starting to see some green sectors coming in and drivers on flying laps. So Aston Martin of D-Elite is going to be the next to set a flying lap. 2 personal bests. Has to find about a second to be on pole position pace. We'll see how they do through the final 2 corners. A little tentative, it looks like. Not quite the flick you see most drivers take into turn 9. And here they come across the line. They are going to just improve by about 0.2. They're not much of a position improvement. Milo going to be next across the line, is up about 0.2 on their previous best. Should be able to get them into the 105s. And does jump them up into the top 10. So a decent lap from them. And now more drivers on that yellow, not improving in lap. Is Space Ghost, though, only down a couple of hundredths. So we'll check up on them. They may have an opportunity to improve in the middle sector. Still a chance for them to go quicker. Now they've lost about another about another 10th. So they are likely going to abandon this one. Or at the very least not improve. We'll stick on, though. It's only a 10th. Because they are coming into the final sector and nailing these last 2 corners and having lots of commitment. Can net you a couple of tenths. Here they come across the line. Do they improve in the final sector? Big improvement, actually, in the final sector. Puts them up into P9. Airrocks, one of the only drivers without a valid flying lap so far, himself and Riemann. So we'll jump on as that green sector is obviously going to be improvements over not setting a lap time. There's some yellow flags in a few of the sectors as we set up. And we wait for Airrocks to set their first flying lap of this session. 6 minutes left to go in this qualifying session. 18 minutes. What you have in there? Oh, that car's parked right on the apex. That is not a great place to stop the car. I think that may have been Milo, who just may have lost the car. I didn't really see. There wasn't really yellow flag. Oh, and over the curbing is Airrocks. They did set a lap time, so they are on the board. We'll jump on. Zados is improving through the first 2 sectors, looking to get back their pole position. Needs to find about 0.3 of a second. Charlie Chibbles goes purple in sector 1. Across the line comes Zados. They improve by about 0.2. So on to the 105 flats. We'll grab Riemann, who's going to be next across the line to finally set a valid lap for themselves. Goes up into the top 10 with their solid performance there. Chibbles, purple in sector 1, personal best for sector 2. So on track to have a pretty big jump up the grid, although there's plenty of time to find. 13th is a little out of place for them, but streaking across the line, they should be, yes, on to provisional pole, a mid 104, a 104.5. So a very good lap from them. False Tax next up to come across the line, going to improve in the first sector, did not improve in the second sector. They have a big improvement, though, in the final sector, and that is a huge improvement up now into P5 as Coral improves up to 6th. The Dog is on a flying lap in 8th here. They found about a half a second off their previous personal best, so they have an opportunity to jump into the top 5 with a couple of good corners. Flicking it in, just about keeping it inside the bounds for turn 9. Oh, a little bit of a wobble over turn 10. It looks like that's lost them time. And they do improve by 0.2, but that loss of time has definitely kept them from going any faster. Blackbird, 2 personal best sectors, looking to move their way up the grid just on the line. That's about as close as you can be without going out, and improves up to P16. Stark next up out of the final corner, another 2 personal bests for them, and goes up into 6th. So 3 minutes left to go. We should have enough time for the drivers that are already in the pit lane to try and go for another flyer. Coral should be on their way in. Yep, Coral is taken to the pit lane entry. Brad Spitt next across the line with 2 personal best sectors. Has to find a significant... Oh, Golly has collected Peter Ward somewhere on the track. There's been contact between the 2, and that has net them a 5-place grid penalty. Brad Spitt, though, improves by half a second up to P11. Peter Ward had a green personal best first sector, although with the amount of time, it looks like there was a spin they collected. So as they come across, they should be taken right off the board with that lack of improvement. But drivers are coming into the pit lanes and relaxing. We do have some driver. I believe Knack Track is actually just about to start a flyer, so we'll jump on board with them. Grabbing a little bit of a tow down the back from the Mercedes, not a significant one, and is now closing up on the back of an Alpha Tauri, who moves just to the right of the road and out of the way, allowing Knack Track through. A good first sector from Knack. We'll see how they are doing versus their own splits. We'll get another update on the health of their lap here just in about a half a corner's worth of time. Crosses second sector split, not improving 0.4 down on their personal best. However, they need to find 0.4 in order to take over pole position from Charlie Chibbles. Into the last 2 corners, a little hesitant getting on the throttle there. Good run out of turn 10, should find a little bit of time, but only a couple of hundredths, so not going to be enough to really make a huge difference. Space Ghost, it was on a improvement, but as you can see is off the track there. We'll grab Wilco next as they are on a hot lap there. 2 personal best sectors, this time a safe personal best, and right there you can see the purple sector 2 bug as our graphic pulls from the actual timing table as it is active. So we know when a purple sector is a purple sector according to the Riemann graphics. Across the line goes Wilco. Improves a little bit up to a 106 flat. Renovatio, I think, doing a double warm-up lap. They're 0.6 off their previous best. We may just stick with them, though, as Knack Track has not improved. Charlie Chibbles is out on an out lap for themselves at the moment. And I believe Luke is on a flying lap. We'll actually grab that Ferrari. Nope, they're 14 seconds off. So I will not grab that Ferrari. And they are in. So, a couple drivers just kind of making their way around the last couple of corners. few drivers that are on flying laps that are just kind of relaxing, not setting particularly fast sectors. Milo is going to probably go for another run. The rear light is not flashing. They are flipping open that DRS, so they should be on a full push. Gali has gone personal best in the middle sector. We'll see if they're going to make their way up the grid. There is a lot of traffic in that final sector, though. As you can see on the track map, just dots all abound. So Charlie Chibbles starting his final flying lap of the session. Riemann, the only driver to call it a retirement so far in the pit lane, although we should have a few more coming in. Milo is on a decent lap, slower in the first sector, so we'll see how they are in the second sector if a mistake has caught them out. They have improved by 0.2 in the second sector now, so still on for a personal best lap if they can keep it clean through the final sector. Zados has gone personal best in the second sector. We'll keep an eye. They should be crossing the pit lane or the start finish line just ahead of Milo here, crossing the line. Zados improves up to third. Milo improves up to 10th. Luke is on purple first sector, but not personal best in the second sector, crossing the line. They do improve, but not very far. Blackbird next across the line, going to stay right where they are. We will check in with Charlie Chibbles, who is on a flying lap personal best. So D. Lee jumping up to 11th. Charlie Chibbles improves their provisional pole time and goes quickest. Dr. Stark has invalidated that lap, and that should be just about curtains. Nobody else improved, but Dog goes up into second. We ended up having 5 drivers dip below that 65-second mark. Charlie Chibbles on pole position with Dog on the front row as well. About 0.4 of a second gap between the top 2 drivers. Knack Track just a 10th off in third, with Luke another couple hundredths splitting them. Then it is Zados in 5th. Coral is the first of the drivers outside that 105 mark, a 105.0. Alongside with False Tax, Ruprath in 8th, Stark in 9th, and Milo rounds out the top 10 as we get ready to head to the actual race settings. So your full qualifying rundown. Charlie Chibbles takes pole position. Dog in second. Knack Track third. Luke, Dr. Zados, Coral, False Tax, Ruprath, Stark, Milo, Dealey in 11th, Renovatio in 12th, Gali 13th, with that 5th-place grid penalty coming up, so they'll be starting towards the back. Brad Spade in 14th, Space Ghost 15th, Riemann 16th, Blackbird, Peter Ward, Wilco, and Air Rocks rounds out your qualifying order. So a full 20 cars on the grid once again today, and we will relax for just a moment as we get ready to head into the race. Yeah, as it stands with crossplay, there are no plans to make any change to crossplay in the FRS in Season 6 here. Depending on how off-season testing goes, and there will be lots of it, Season 7 will not start until after the new year. So we will use that off-season time to do quite a bit of testing and then make a determination on how viable it is to go to crossplay. I think crossplay would be nice to have if it can work all nicely, but I will say, even if there's not a whole lot of desync issues and that sort of thing, it is racing, and they are actually about to go racing relatively soon. And as a Destiny 2 player that has crossplay on Xbox, I can absolutely tell just by the reactions of the characters if I'm facing a player that is on PlayStation. But we do have a formation lap today, so we will actually make sure that Crofty is silenced for the moment. Go ahead and mute him. But Charlie Chibbles leads the field away with Dog, Knack Track, Luke, Dr. Zados, Coral, False Tax, and Ruprath. Everybody starting on mediums. So it looks like strategy, not a lot of daring choices coming out in this one. So we wait for the drivers to get formed up on the grid now. We started with no formation lap last week. We are testing a broadcast formation lap because last week, while it did give the drivers warm tires, it had an issue with the fastest lap being calculated. So drivers are getting on the grid. We'll unmute the game audio so we have the last cars just getting set up on the grid now. And we will see, we'll have the drivers have to report back, but here we go. As the 5 red lights warm up and we wait for the lights to go out. It's a long hold and a good jump from Charlie Chibbles. Very quick off the line. There's going to be a melee in the middle of the pack. And look at forward contact between, looks like Stark and Millo into turn 1. The Division 3 teammates, a little bit of cars being pushed wide. And it looks like we've just about sorted our way through the first couple of corners. And it is all kicking off in the middle of the pack here as Charlie Chibbles got an amazing start. Knacktrack going up to 4th already, or Stark fighting Knacktrack as Zados is battling with Luke up towards the front of the grid. So it looks like they're just about getting it sorted out. We'll grab onto this battle in the mid-pack. Peter Ward, big lift into the corner. Going to go try and go around the outside of Space Ghost. Is he going to have enough? No, he's backed out of that one as Space Ghost makes the move up the inside of Blackbird. And now Peter Ward trying to attack Blackbird, goes around the outside here, or inside of Blackbird. And I'm so used to Blackbird being in the Red Bull that I think when I'm looking at a Red Bull, I'm looking at Blackbird, but I'm not. As that is sort of getting sorted out. False Tax is off the track in the S's there. Charlie Chibbles with a brilliant first lap as Dog has gotten shuffled down a little bit, but looks like we are starting to settle in. And on the first lap, your big gainers. Gali up 6 places. Brad Spit up 6 places. False Tax with that spin, though. The big loser with 13 places dropped to the back. Dog now trying to attack Stark. Stark defending to the inside of turn 3. Going to park it a bit on the apex. Has to take that sharper line. And Dog may be able to carry some momentum down into turn 4. Stark going to dip in, try and grab some of that slipstream as there's another yellow flag out of turn 3. Looks like somebody's just lost it. And Dog just not letting Stark get his nose in there and has claimed that position relatively strongly. So drivers all settling in for the kind of easy phase of this race. Now take a look at the weather forecast we've got for today. Looks like some light clouds coming in towards the tail end of the race, but realistically not any chance of rain being threatened in this one as Charlie Chibbles goes fastest once again. So we should be able to settle in, have some all green flag running. I'll actually grab onto Knacktrack here as DRS is going to be enabled. You see that rear wing flipping open after the detection point and heading now down into turn 3. Should be an easy clinical move for Knacktrack, who is fully clear by the time they reach the braking point for turn 3. But if they've gotten clear enough, then you can see Zados now has the rear wing open, but it is not going to be enough to make a counter attack. So job done for Knacktrack. Goes up a position. We'll grab onto this next battle behind Dog as there's a bit of a train forming. We have Dog, Stark, Brad Spit, D. Lee, and Millo all involved in this one. Right now, the closest battle inside the pack is D. Lee and Millo, but it looks like Millo's gone a little bit wide through turn 6 and now through turn 7, so it should allow for just a hair of breathing space. Zados doing what they can to try and hang on to the back of Knacktrack. Looks like there's yellow flags. Somebody's off the track. That is Space Ghost who's off the track out of turn 8. We'll grab Zados as they're just inside the DRS range of Knacktrack, and we'll see just how powerful that DRS is. About 8.5 tenths of a second out of turn 1, and now coming down the back straight, they've made a tenth and a half, almost 3. You can make almost 3 tenths, it looks like, down into turn 3. So look for that to be kind of the margin you expect drivers in to make that attacking move. Peter Ward looking to make a move on Air Rocks, who is the first of our drivers to be picking up time penalties. That is that 3-second time penalty we talked about. And oh, there's yellow flags all around. I believe that is going to be a virtual safety car. And I'm going to just kind of nudge this a little bit. The virtual safety car has been called in this one. The yellow dot not out on track, so we are just waiting for cars to go green once again. As we love that the game has given us all 3 sector yellow flags. They still don't tell us whether it's a virtual safety car or a full safety car. Another graphic thanks to Riemann to give us a little bit of extra information. But everything is all told. Nobody opting to take the free pit stop or the cheap pit stop under the virtual safety car. False tax too quick on the restart has picked up a speeding under VSC penalty. And Peter Ward attacking immediately has gone deep and over the curbing, has to bail out and rejoin, and now is going to try and defend that position. They realistically should probably hand that position back after jumping the curb to make the overtake. And Aerox having to make a avoiding action, but the two Red Bull and a McLaren now side by side, just elbowed out is Wilco. Not really left a whole lot of space. Now drivers don't tend to send too many incidents off to the stewards here in PC Div R, but those couple we may see some opportunity. The stats are tracked for PC Division R, but it doesn't at this stage go into the career stat totals of drivers, but it is recorded, so there is, you know, a championship technically, and there are some stats associated with it, but with the being a mixture of drivers' paces, it is relatively unrepresentative, is what I will say. So we're opting not to make that a portion of the full statistics, but still, Stark has managed to drop off the back of Dog, so that DRS train now is headed up by Stark, with Brad Spitt, D. Lee, Ruprath making a move to the outside of D. Lee. Is D. Lee going to leave enough room for Ruprath to carry the momentum? The camber of the corner really gave Ruprath, and since they were just behind the detection point, hadn't quite made the move yet, are going to have that DRS help down into turn 4. D. Lee trying to reattack, but door is absolutely closed off by Ruprath, and that position is just about done and dusted. We'll check back in with the cars up towards the front of the field. As you can see, Zados running over the track limits there should certainly pick up a warning over the curbing of turn 8. And they're just kind of inside the DRS range of Knack Track. They seem to have the pace to keep up, although it may be being flattered by the DRS keeping them in that range. It's a 36-lap race around Austria here. Very quick lap times. I mean, obviously, the fastest lap time of the day. Nope, that's the wrong button. I want this button. There we go. Fastest lap time of the day set by Charlie Chibbles. Goes down into the 107s. Every driver's best lap is under 70 seconds at this stage of the race. So plenty of pace to be found. Actually, no, Knack Track has the fastest lap, 107.8. We get the interval back up. Coral and D. Lee dicing it as Coral goes up the inside of turn 3. D. Lee going to try and fight it back. They both have DRS. D. Lee seems to have had the momentum around the outside, but Coral's going to have the track position on the inside of turn 4 as they both break. A little bit of contact between the two. I think D. Lee trying to get to the apex just a little early, and Coral has taken that position. I think that's just about racing incident level quality of contact. And yeah, Zados seems to fall back once they get into the twisty bits and staying just close enough to go. False Tax is into the pits, I believe serving their drive-through, so they should be just coming straight through. Yellow flags, a car is off. That is Peter Ward on the inside of Sector 2 there. They've gotten back going again. No damage seems to be done. So back to racing they go. We'll keep an eye on this fight that is brewing between Coral and D. Lee, as the battle between them has caused Coral to drop out of the DRS. Oh, snap of oversteer for Coral on the exit of turn 1. That's going to give D. Lee a big run down into turn 3 with the DRS open. Although Coral looks to be deploying rather hard on the ERS. That rear light flashing as they're running out of battery. D. Lee may have Coral in a very good place right now to try and reattack now down into turn 4. Coral tight to the inside. Are they going to stay defensive? Slipstreaming. And even with the DRS and the slipstream, not able to quite get there. So D. Lee holds position behind Coral this time as they battle for the last points paying positions. We'll go ahead and grab onto this fight with Stark, Brad Spitt, and Ruprath all involved. The fight that Coral is trying to reattach themselves to the rear end of. And False Tax has now picked up a track limits penalty, so 3 warnings for them. Somebody is off in turn 10. That is Aerox on the inside and just getting going again. And Blackbird, so it looks like they've tangled in the final corner. Nearly a big incident there between the two of them. Or no, Blackbird is off in their own place. So I was just watching as they were dropping down the timing tower. So 2 individual spins in 2 different places. And that has allowed this battle with Stark to move up to P6, but some avoiding action having to be taken. Nothing they could really do on the inside. Lucky to avoid it there is this pack of fighters. So Brad Spitt now with the DRS on Stark, closing into turn 4. Are they going to have a chance at a move? No, not quite. Milo and Renovatio, 2 Mercedes drivers, are duking it out down into turn 3. We'll grab them as they continue the fight down into turn 4. Milo just took that spot off of Reno. Can Reno get it back into turn 4? No. They are going to hang out and not commit to an attack just yet. We'll get back to this fight here. The mid-pack, as we'll keep an eye on the intervals, actually, as switching it over. Knack has closed right up to the back of Luke and is showing some very good pace. Zados dropped out of that DRS and is now over 2 seconds behind it. Knack just has the gearbox covered. Luke is going to just not even fight this one, is out of the way. Knack able to move all the way to the racing line to retake it for the braking zone. Will Luke have a chance to get a good run out of turn 3 and reattack? It looks like a wiggle of oversteer, some wheel spin on the traction, and no, they are not able to make it. So Knack appears to be just about fastest man on circuit at this point and is going to start trying to eat into that gap to Charlie Chibbles. Airrocks and Riemann further down the field are battling it out through turn 3, and you can see that fight continuing once again, and Milo getting involved. Milo is going to kind of pin Airrocks to the inside, go wide around the outside, leave the space for Riemann. Side by side, they're going to continue through turns 5. It's going to switch to the inside for turn 6 for Milo, but it looks like they've deployed enough battery. Has gotten ahead, especially as Riemann has gone a little bit wide into turn 6. So that should be just about job done. Gap at the front sits at 3.7 seconds, and that VSC, the only thing we've seen so far. Now, green flag running conditions, we should realistically probably see the medium tire runner start to come in around lap 15, I would say. Lap 14 to 18, although the pit window is extremely large here, basically with how long the hard tires can last. If you're going medium to hard, you have anywhere from lap 10 to really come in and have plenty of life to go to the end of the race on a set of hard tires. Of course, with 34 laps of life, realistically, a lap 1 safety car does open up the door for a driver to put on hard tires and go to the end, get that mandatory pit stop out of the way. And, you know, aside from the last 2 or 3 laps of life, those hard tires really don't lose too much pace via degradation. It's pretty even Stevens with tire deg and fuel load throughout the entire distance. But looks like, who was that? Peter Ward, I believe, has made a mistake. No, there's somebody who's off. I believe that's actually False Tax, who is a lap down. That blue dot that is moving slowly through that yellow flag section. Brad Spitt, probably his best run on Stark so far. Stark, though, showing some very good straight line speed. Might be running a little... Oh, and Brad Spitt outbrakes himself. Has to go avoiding action to not collect the tail end of Dog. False Text boxing, yeah, unexpected. Unsurprising to see has had a rough day already. But Brad Spitt lost that position to Ruprath after it looked like he was going to take that position off of Stark down into turn 3. Just a little too much pace into the corner, and they drop back just a little bit. It's all pretty gapped out. We'll check in. I think this is their closest fight on track at the moment, aside from the one with Renovatio and Airrocks. They're about even. Similar pace. In one case, a Red Bull is attacking a Mercedes, and another one, a Mercedes is attempting to attack another blue car, which is, if I squint and look very closely, not the same blue as a Red Bull. Luke has made it past it. Knack has gone around. No, Knack is in the... What has happened to Knack? Knack has spun it on the exit of turn 1. So as they are making ground on, on the lead, they have made a mistake, and it looks like Brad Spitt caught out as well in turn 1. So both Alfa Romeos getting twitchy and losing the tail end in turn 1. It looks like we're back to green flags in that sector, so no damage done. No safety car or virtual safety cars called, but 13 laps into this 36 lap race. And just about turning into another Charlie Chibbles masterclass. We saw a very strong result from them in Austin and PC Div R, and unsurprisingly, one of the only PC Division 1 drivers in the race. Not shocking to see them up at the front. Luke, of course, the other, as is Knacktrack. I believe, if I'm running down the list, Zados is Div 2, Dog is Div 2, Stark is Div 2, Rooprath, I believe, is Div 3, Coral 2. So yeah, I believe that it is just Knacktrack, Luke, and Charlie Chibbles are your Division 1 drivers here in this session. Spike has taken part in a couple of them, although is sitting this one out today. We had more than the 20 spots accounted for, so it kind of became first come, first serve. As it looks like Blackbird has gone around on the exit of turn 3, just a short local yellow. And back to racing we go. We'll grab on to Rooprath, who's gotten a very good launch out of the corner. As Stark, I think, is starting to lose a bit of pace on their medium tires. Everybody started on the mediums, of course, so everybody's got same age, same type of tires, but depending on your setup and depending on how hard you've pushed, really could come into play. But it looks like Stark is getting kind of attacked and eaten up by the cars that are catching up to them. That is Zados, I believe, off the track. He's made a mistake and gone wide. He's looked to avoid any kind of damage, but had to lift out to get the car back under control. And no, into the pit lanes comes Zados. So he's going to be the first of the drivers to make that stop. We'll bring up the tire graphics so we can see what he changes on to while we keep an eye on the closest battle on track, which is Rooprath trying to make it on Stark. Stark kind of placing the car just in the path, not really committing to anything other than the middle of the track as the line. So Zados onto the hard compound tire. The first of the runners to make that pit stop. And they are going to come out, it should be in P13 here. I don't think Airrocks will be quite in position to grab it. Coral has closed up to this battle and has brought Knacktrack along with them. So Knack, after the spin, starting to work their way back through the field, trying to get back onto that top 5 finish form. Peter Ward has picked up a 3-second time penalty for track limits warnings. We've got, let me see, hold on, let me get the right one. So Airrocks with 6 seconds, Peter Ward with 3, Milo with 3 seconds of time penalties in this one. Dr. Stark heading up another train as it continues to grow. But Stark running 4th overall in this one, and pretty even as Rooprath is going to commit to the pit lane nice and early. In he goes, staying all 4 tires on the inside as you would expect. Coral also coming into the pit lane. So 2 drivers opting to take that stop. That is going to unleash Knacktrack and allow him to close up to the back of Stark. It's 1.9 seconds though, so he's got a little bit of ground to make up. And I would be shocked, and as we expect, both drivers have come in, gone for the hard compound tire. Brad Spit is into the pit lane as well. Should be going on to the hard tire, as around was an Alpha Tauri that we saw. That should be, I think, Blackbird once again facing the wrong direction, as there was no position change for Stark. Stark has actually grown the gap to Knacktrack. Might be burning deployment, could be planning to make their pit stop, as a few more drivers have now picked up those lovely, lovely track limits penalties. We'll keep an eye on Stark here, as they are kind of going to be next to Blink, as that is Dog around. Dog has gone around, and that is Stark working their way around, avoiding Dog, and is now into the podium positions. I think that avoiding action that Stark had to take definitely cost him some time. All 4 tires inside the white lines on the pit entry. Stark coming in, I believe. Knacktrack has indeed followed them in, as has Dog and the Alfa Romeo of D. Lee. So they are all getting their pit stops sorted out. Charlie Chibbles still stays out, has the liberty to react whenever they really want. A 5-second gap. They can essentially just take the mediums as long as they want to go. Whenever Luke comes in, they can just dive in the very next lap and should have plenty of time to cover off any kind of undercut, and then have the 1 lap younger tires. So all of the pitters making their way out the pit lane, all onto the hard compound of tires. So no shockers in the strategy this time. Space Ghost should be able to take those hard tires to the end of the race, even though they had to make a very early pit stop with some damage. But Charlie Chibbles still hanging out in front in the lead on those medium compound tires. We'll pick up another battle. Nope, that is not another battle. We'll grab Stark here, who has made the move on Air Rocks and has actually got a little bit of a buffer now with Wilco behind, although Coral has managed to undercut Stark by coming in that one lap earlier. So undercut does seem to be a viable option here around Austria. So look for drivers to go for the undercut in races later this week. It does seem to be worth about 2 seconds, roughly 2 seconds. As Gali is into the pit lane, so they're going to go ahead and make their tire change now. But undercut appears to be the move compared to the overcut. We'll grab some extra data points if Luke does what we expect and attempts to undercut Charlie Chibbles. Milo still also among the runners yet to pit, up in 7th, but has a train forming behind them. Dr. Zados is going to be coming to attack. Milo defends? No, Milo stays on the racing line, and Charlie Chibbles is in. So Charlie Chibbles blinks first, is going to get on the tires before Luke. Luke should quite easily come through. And Charlie Chibbles drops just the one position. Should be able to get back going once again before Milo makes their way. There's about 30 seconds the gap as they came into the pit lane. So plenty of opportunity as Zados just weaving, looking to find a way beyond the Mercedes in front of him. But that tire differential not helping, and it's costing Zados time to the race leaders. Now he's got tons of ground to make up in order to catch those race leaders, but he would like to be involved with the race. Dog setting fastest lap of the race on those hard tires, and Zados should have a relatively easy time going by. Wilco is into the pit lane. Let's let that position change, and yes, Zados with a rather clinical move. Sorry, I moved away from it on stream, but he was so close with DRS. Now, the more interesting bit will be how the exit is for Milo on those old medium tires. And not going to be in any position to really battle back. We'll just wait till they hit the braking zone. Not quite. We'll grab it now. Knack Track trying to go around the outside of Ruprath, both on the hard compound tires. Side by side they go onto the curbing. Just about enough space left. And no, Luke has picked up 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. And that may put them in danger of Zados really starting to claw into that gap. 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. Then you give Zados a couple of laps worth of undercut timing, and just not a mistake you want to see being made. But Knack Track ahead of Ruprath now, and has about 2.2 seconds to now chase down Milo, who I believe is now the only driver yet to make a stop. So Milo really going as long as they can on that set of medium tires. Lap 20, 16 laps left to go in this race, and relatively drama-free. Aside from the manual retirement from False Tax, we still have everybody driving, and False Tax could very well have still been driving in this one. Wasn't a crash or any kind of incident that took them out of this race. So still plenty of green flags. Ruprath picks up 3 seconds for going over those track limits. So another track limits time penalty, and you can see on the timing tower 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9 drivers carrying time penalties, and False Tax would have made 10, so half the grid already is. Now Charlie Chibbles picks up a fastest lap of the race and has actually made about what the undercut margin. So an undercut margin seems to be about 1.5 seconds, because it was about 5.4 the gap, about 7.1 when they completed their flying lap. So undercut seems to be the way compared to the overcut, unless you can really conserve in a train and deploy hard. Knack Track all over the back of Milo. DRS open should be one of those rather clinical moves. Both Haas drivers, Dog and Ruprath, coming through. I think Ruprath might be just moving out of the way of Dog, as the Dog is showing a lot of extra pace and is also not carrying that time penalty, letting a driver who may have the pace to challenge for the podium positions go and try and chase them down. But now Knack Track with no time penalties on their way. Dog attacking Milo a little further down, and Milo's tires must be just about done. Surely there's not much more that Milo can do on those tires is, yeah, Ruprath making the overtake. No, around goes Milo. Milo has made a mistake on those tires. Now, I think Ruprath was trying to make an overtake through turn 5 and 6, and I don't know if there may have been contact between them. I thought there was going to be rather calm between them, but Ruprath may have had it. Well, I'll just have to ask the drivers afterwards and maybe get some extra insight. But Charlie Chibbles continues to grow the lead at the front. Zados now picking up a multiple warnings track limit penalty. Track now sitting in a podium position without even having to make any overtakes. It's a local yellow in turn 6. Looks like a Red Bull that has moving as that yellow transfers from turn 6 to turn 7 and back to green flag racing. So we are still just kind of maintaining the status quo. Track, though, even though they don't need to take the position on track, they should definitely get them shift on as Dog is closing up to the back. Now, the only thing interesting in strategy is the tire lives. Luke with the freshest hard tires of the runners. Zados with the oldest. Milo still out. Even after that spin, did not come into the pit lane. So maybe doing some testing till destruction or hoping for a late safety car. Well, they are just about trying to reach the window to go medium onto soft. I think, though, the amount of time they lost on this medium tire at the tail end of their stint has relatively shown that strategy just not worth it, because they've stayed out, gained a ton of track position and time, as it looks like. No, that Dog has gone around. Dog getting the car spun back around out of turn 1, but another mistake from Dog, who always shows good pace, but is very, very error prone in this one. Track trying to make the move on Zados here for position, and is not going to take it. Of course, Dog from the lead of the race last weekend in Austin in their PC Div 2 race, crashed out from behind the safety, leading behind the safety car as the track got wet and they were on hard compound tires, and made a late lunge to the pit lane. Milo has maintained the position ahead of Brad Spitt, just about barely, but Riemann arriving very rapidly on the scene. Milo's got to come in this lap, otherwise they're already staring down the barrel of a P16 finish, based, if I can do some quick math on where they'll come out based on the pit lane, and they gonna have to make up 20 seconds in 12 laps. So Milo stays out again, has not come in. At this point, surely those tires are going to puncture. Track, though, up towards the front with the DRS open on the inside of turn 3, should have just about an easy time, and now can set their sights on Luke. They've dropped a couple of seconds trying to get by Zados. So when they got on the tail of Zados, the margin was about 8 seconds further to catch up to Luke, although Luke seems to have gotten a bit of a move on. They've closed the gap a little bit to Charlie Chibbles, though Charlie Chibbles likely in limp home mode, or bring it home nice and safely. Airrocks picks up another time penalty. So Luke carrying 5 seconds of time penalties. Track just has to make 5 seconds over these remaining 10 laps. 11 laps, as we are just about to start the 26th lap of this race. Charlie Chibbles about to make the timer go tick over to lap 26. No, I'm looking at the wrong dot. Forgive me. Charlie Chibbles is way up the road. Charlie Chibbles is already in already out of turn 3 and is catching back markers. So scratch that. We will be on to the 26th lap in about a half a lap. Zado's hanging on to the back of Track here, but I just don't think has quite the pace to make the move. Stark has closed up that undercut gap that Coral had. So it is back to DRS ranges between Coral and Stark as they duke it out, and Stark, with no time penalties, is inside the range to gain that position off of Coral. Brad Spitt and Riemann will grab that fight as they continue to duel it out. DRS, though, for Brad Spitt, as they've made the move on into turn 3 and shall have the DRS into turn 4 and shall maintain that position over Riemann. But that rear light's flashing on Brad Spitt. Not a lot of energy left for them to use, it would appear. Riemann surely has conserved a bit more battery and is going to try and make an attacking maneuver. Naktrack not really cutting into the gap to Luke, who is starting to fall back from Charlie Chibbles once again. But we will keep an eye on the various fights. Stark has fallen back out of DRS range. Gali is caught up to D. Lee, is inside the 5-second time, or 1 second DRS margin, and 3-second time penalty now for D. Lee. So Gali will likely look to make this move stick on track and take the position away as Renovatio and Milo are swapping positions. Milo finally into the pit lane, and we'll see when they finally come out. They should be behind Wilco, I believe. We see the orange dot of the McLaren. It'll be nip and tuck. Who's got the momentum? Looks like Milo just about stays ahead, but Wilco's going to have some DRS assistance, I believe. We'll keep an eye on that. Nope. Wilco was outside that 1 second to the car ahead, so no DRS, and that should be Milo on the move. So we'll see what kind of ground Milo can make up. They are 1 minute off the leader at the when they came out of the pits, so we'll see what they end up this race with. Charlie Chibbles, I believe. No, Luke has the fastest lap of the race, going to the 106.7, so nearly getting down to the quali pace of some of the other drivers in the lobby. But with the short lap time, plenty of time. Wilco running wide, as we saw just on screen there, so mistake being made there. D. Lee still on the back of Gali. That's going to be your closest fight on track. Nope, scratch that. Not the closest fight on track. Closest fight on track is right here, where Brad Spitt is moving past Dog, and Riemann is going to follow them through. Dog must have had some kind of mistake. And hard on the brake, late on the brakes is Dog. They've taken that position. No, side by side they go, and wheel spin for Brad Spitt on that one as Riemann and Dog are going to continue to fight down into turn 4. Riemann's got the inside, Dog on the outside. Is there going to be about enough space left? There is some space left for that maneuver to take place. And Dog is still going to do it out, not quite getting all the way down. Now gets down to the apex, tries to sweep her out, but you can just carry some extra momentum around the outside of turn 6 there. So good run from them. Looking up and down the field, we're on lap 28 of 36, so just 8 laps left to go in this one, and it should be rather quick, those 8 laps. Charlie Chibbles leads from Luke and Naktrack, who is not making any impression on the 5 seconds they need to find to take P2 away. Dr. Zados runs 4th, but carries time penalty differential to Ruprath, who is in 5th. Coral is just 3 further seconds back, so maybe just about in the margins, as unsurprisingly Milo takes the fastest lap, as Dog unsurprisingly attempts to try and overtake Riemann. There were pretty much even Stevens on the detection point, so neither of them got DRS. Dog, though, with the better exit. Riemann dipping into the slipstream to try and make an attack, and I think just isn't going to be able to get enough alongside. Gali is in 8th, Dealey is 9th. This battle here, Dog and Riemann, is for the final points paying position, although Riemann carrying 6 seconds worth of time penalties, and Dog now with 3 seconds. So a little bit of a margin here. Riemann needs to overtake and gain 3 seconds in order to get that position away, although Dog into the pit lane, it appears. Dog is coming in. So Dog, with that time penalty there, did they... Surely they didn't. They're just going to try and go for fastest lap, I believe, at this stage. So we'll keep an eye on what Dog does in the pit lane. Soft tires go on. Or scratch that. I was looking at Milo. It is, though, soft tires going on. They should come out ahead. No, behind Milo. So Milo is up to 13th now and is grinding hard to try and close up to the leaders. Still has only gained a couple of seconds on the leader of Charlie Chibbles, although Chibbles has had a bit more natural pace over the course of this one. Penalties, penalties, penalties. We've only got 3 drivers on the track, or 4 drivers that have yet to pick up a track penalty out of 19. So 15 out of 19 drivers with some form of time adjustment is going to make calling the end of this race just an absolute bundle. But let's get the actual quantity of time penalties up on the screen so everybody can see, and we can start doing some mental math. Naktrack starting to finally make some inroads. Has gained about a second on Luke. Still needs to find 4.5. Zados at this point should lose track position to both Ruprath and Coral, and maybe even Stark. is right on the border for Stark. There's a spinner out of turn 3. That should be Blackbird, I think, getting going once again. As this fight between D. Lee and Gali continues on. There's the, aside from the Space Ghost Peter Ward battle, the only other pair of cars within a second of each other. The field is kind of stretched out in this one. Only that one short virtual safety car. Otherwise, aside from some spinners, no real incidents to make big note of. There is quite a bit of gravel and runoff in this one, so it is rather rare. Or not rather rare, but it takes quite a incident in order to create that safety car. Really, your best opportunities for safety cars are drivers losing it on the inside of turn 3 and getting into that inside barrier for damage. Dog has made a fairly rapid overtake on Wilco with those soft tires, and is seems to be trying to chase down Stark with 3 seconds worth of time penalties now. So that cleans that up a little bit. Gully is 8.9 seconds out, so not going to be in a position to take that spot away from Stark on time penalties. Knack has found about another half second. With 5 laps left to go, though, needs to find 4 whole seconds, as I believe that is Milo around. So Milo has lost it on the exit of turn 10, and through goes Aerox and Dog, and back up to racing goes Milo. So the soft tire gambit not really working out for Milo today, because it involves really pushing some quali laps around. Aerox and Dog are fighting. Let me get that on screen. As they both had DRS. Oh, just about contact as Aerox has gone over the track limit lines and has gone very wide there, so Dog should be able to slot right back in. However, Aerox with the DRS open, can they make another attack? They're carrying 15 seconds of time penalty. And oh, yellow flags. Zados is off the track in turn 1 to the inside. Is there damage? No, that front wing still seems to be attached. That's another opportunity for a safety car, though, is damage off the inside wall of that track. So take a quick moment, breathe, relax. Eventually, the podium positions are sorted, because Knack has lost ground now to Luke. They're not carrying any time penalties. Ruprath has to make 9 seconds, essentially. 9.7 seconds on... oh, Milo is around and it gets auto reset to the track because of the pit lane. And is going to just drive their way off track because there's cars coming. It's a reasonable thing to do there. Gets out of the way, crosses the track to the inside. Well before the arrival of the next car. It's a relatively safe way to... the reversing, not a great idea. But otherwise, a relatively safe rejoin. We'll grab Renovatio, who is starting to work their way up towards Brad Spit. Now, they still have that time penalty. Gali has gotten a penalty. So now we're down to 2. There's just 2 drivers on this circuit with no time penalties. 5 for Luke. And now, to Luke's credit, he does not have any track limits penalties. He just has that speeding in the pit lane penalty. But that one is always going to be a cut and dry penalty that is unable to get removed. But Charlie Chibbles leads from Luke, Knack in 3rd, Ruprath in 4th, Coral in 5th, and Stark in 6th. All carry that 3 seconds worth of time penalties, so they are even Stevens. How they finish on track will determine how they finish in the order. Zados has 3 seconds more time penalties than Gali. The gap, 4.4 seconds as Renovatio goes to the inside of Brad Spit. And Brad Spit, though, later on the brakes. And Dog is... or no, it's not Dog. That is a Blackbird who is a lap down. That's why there it goes to. I was going to say, Dog shouldn't be getting involved. He's 4 seconds off this battle. Milo is out. Milo has retired into the pit lane, so has had enough of this one. Likely, I would say, strategically did not learn or get what they expected out of the strategy, and has called it a day. So only the 2nd retirement here in PC Division R with just 4 laps left to go. Renovatio has fallen about a second behind Brad Spitz, so he's going to have to try and close back up to that duel. We'll grab actually D. Lee, who is the next closest fight on track. Coral is starting to close up to Ruprath. We'll keep an eye on the timing deltas to see if that gets any closer. The yellow flags in Sector 1 are no big issue. Dog is off in Sector 2, though. That's a bit more of a yellow flag issue. The Sector 1 yellow flags were just Milo's AI pulling the car to a marshal's post. Not quite the shambolic race that you would expect from such field spread, but so far this season, PC Division R has bucked the trend of the idea that wide pace differentials create shambles when faster cars are overtaking it. PC Division R has had the fewest retirements and the lowest retirement percentage of any FRS division this season. So drivers have been able to mostly keep it clean throughout the season here in this one. We'll grab the battle for P5 here as Coral still trying to get up to Ruprath. Only 2 laps left to go in this one. Let's take a look and see. Tire-wise, even Stevens. Both put it on the same lap, so nobody's got a fresher or older set of tires. So that's going to be as they duel it. 0.3 the gap as Coral really putting the pressure on to Ruprath now to try and make a big overtake in the final lap of the race. Charlie Chibbles crosses the start-finish line, starts the final lap of this race with quite the margin to the cars behind. Coral still about 0.4 off the back of Ruprath. They are starting to catch a car that is lapped down. I believe that is Peter Ward, which is why you're seeing the light boxes flashing blue. You can just about see them up the road there. So we'll see if Coral is going to make a move. 0.3 is about what you need to be on the exit of turn 1. 0.4 if you're really dumping some battery. So here they go in the slipstream. Goes to 0.3, down to 0.2. Goes to the outside. They've both got the battery blinking. They're about even across the DRS detection point. Oh, Coral's gone wide onto the curbing. That is going to really compromise their run. And actually, Ruprath has the DRS, so that should be that job done and dusted. We'll grab the leader of the race as they come across the start-finish line to take the race win here in the Austrian Grand Prix of PC Division R. But we'll very quickly jump back to this fight here for 4th place. D. Lee is getting all right onto the back of Gali a little bit further back. We'll check up on that one as well as the deltas fluctuate. As Luke crosses the line second, takes the second podium position. And Naktrack crosses third. Here comes the battle. Coral, are they going to be able to make a move on Ruprath before the end? Doesn't look to be the case. And just running that little bit wide in turn 3 cost them that position. So Ruprath 4th, Coral 5th. Stark should cross the line in P6. Zados will be the next of the drivers on a lead lap to finish as Wilco finishes on a lap down. Gali nearly by 1/10 of a second gets inside the penalty timer of Zados, so doesn't jump that position, was surely going full push on that final run. We'll grab Riemann as they cross the line next, and that will round out your points paying positions. Charlie Chibbles takes the race win. Luke in second, Naktrack third, Coral in 5th with Ruprath in 4th as my brain and eyes jumped ahead. And you can see clouds just now starting to work their way into this one. Gali picking up the game's driver of the day with their charge through the field. We'll take a look at the podium. We wait for it to load in. Not the most exciting of races. Definitely rather tame for a PC Div R. There was definitely some fighting up and down the field, but mostly some DRS trains, and then once the field got spread out, wasn't a whole lot to do. But Charlie Chibbles taking the top step of the podium here for PC Division R. Luke in the Ferrari comes home second, although they're rarely wearing the Ferrari red. They're been a Red Bull stalwart in their primary divisions all the time. So they're wearing some different overalls, which we do get to see in PC Division R from time to time. You see Coral was not in their normal car. Stark taking the McLaren with some psychological warfare. But here's your official running order. Charlie Chibbles, Luke, Naktrack, Ruprath, Coral, Stark, Zados, Gali, Dealey, and Riemann making up the top 10. And outside of that, you have Renovatio coming home 11th, Brad Spitt in 12th, Peter Ward in 13th, Space Ghost in 14th, Air Rocks in 15th, Wilco, Dog, and Blackbird rounding out the running order. Millo and False Tax, you're only 2 retirements from the race, packing it into the pit lane at the very end. But that's one way to kick off the race weekend for FRS. Of course, there's more action coming as the weekend continues. PC Division 1 running Saturday, aka tomorrow. Xbox Division 1, we are looking as our usual caster, Mr. AWD Turbo Guy, is in the middle of a move, so we're not sure if we'll have broadcast coverage for Xbox Div 1 on Saturday. We will be definitely backed up for PC Division 4 with certainty on FRS Motorsports here tomorrow as well at 8:30 UTC. So just after the PC1 race, although if the FRS community channel is completely clear, may take PC4 to the community channel. So keep an eye on both of the channels. And then, of course, Sunday, 3 more races. PlayStation runs. Again, depends on Mr. AWD if he's able to get set up. Mifawak also has the opportunity to take it over. We'll see if they are opting to race or cast on that one. So keep an eye on FRS Motorsports for that. PC Div 3. We are looking to cast our usual casting pair of Squids and Space Ghost. Looks to be getting the call up as the reserve runners for PC3, so we may see them there. But behind the wheel of the car. And then PC Division 2, of course, wraps up the week in regular fashion. But thank you guys for joining me to kick off the race weekend here in PC Division R. We will catch you guys next time. Y'all have a good night.